Okay, welcome back. This is Unknown in our AIM training series. In this video, we will go over everything involving your setup and the settings to look out for. This video will likely be one of the simpler ones in the series, but there are plenty of review channels. This isn't one of those, so I'm not going to be reviewing any products. I will give you some suggestions on a few options I've tried or that I can say that I've vetted, but mostly this video will just serve to get you thinking about what sort of things you should be considering when you choose the gear that you go with. Let's get the budget issue out of the way first. So not everyone can afford to drop endless amounts of money on their gear, but I'm confident that most of you listening will be able to afford gear that will meet your needs. You might be sacrificing a little, but a lot of budget options will give you plenty of room to grow your aim. For budget, we are looking for longevity and reliability of the item first, and performance per dollar next. What standards you need to meet will depend on the item, but always buy an item with plenty of good reviews and someone you respect as an aimer would recommend. So you can go through YouTube videos to find those items, or just ask your streamers if you watch Twitch. For the mouse, you really want something that isn't too heavy or too large in the hand. A lot of mice advertised for gamers that are affordable are honestly just garbage and will set you off with a bad grip and a bad aim style. Hopefully this isn't you, but if you're holding a Razer Death Adder, well, anyways, don't worry, it's never too late to swap your mice. Now, there are two mice in this category I will point you to for budget options. The Razer Viper Mini is regularly on sale, but boasts some impressive specs for its price point, even at full price. Be warned, this is a smaller, wired mouse, but if you are younger or a woman with smaller hands, this is a great mouse that feels very good in the hand. Even if you have larger hands, this mouse is a great mouse for reactive and mobile grips and sensitivity combinations like fingertip with a higher sense. If the wire or the size scares you off, then take a look at the Logitech G305, which is wireless. It's a little bit more heavy, but you can mod it. Plenty of videos going over that. It's great, budget-friendly mouse that is a venture into the lightweight wireless mouse market. Highly recommend those two. For in-game mice, I definitely recommend the Logitech G Pro X Superlight at this time. It is the safest, highest quality mouse on the market, and there's a reason so many pros use it. When you are dropping real money on a peripheral, you want to make no compromises. This mouse might not be the mouse of your dreams. Finding one of those is an expensive and tough task, but I don't think almost anyone will feel that it's lacking or something that will hold them back. For the mousepad, make sure whatever you're buying is large enough. It's also important to either get a mousepad with good stitching that people have washed successfully, which you'll pay a little bit more of a premium for, but you'll have some longevity, or we'll go over another option, but a dirty mousepad is the quickest way to destroy your aim and generally ruin the satisfaction of your aiming experience. So, alternative to keeping your mousepad clean is buy a good mousepad that's cheap enough that you don't feel bad buying a new one. So you understand that it'll wear out within a couple months depending on your usage, but replacing it won't be any big expense. Take care of it, and it shouldn't put a huge dent in your budget. For in-game pads, it's really the same as above, but you can afford to be pickier with the quality of the stitching and look for something a little more tailor-made. The Artisan series has some great options for cloth pads. They're quite expensive, but this is the in-game options. But cloth pads will generally be referred to as control or speed pads. Those are the two types of cloth pads. Control pads are generally softer and are threaded to be more resistant to movement, so you can press into them and get a little bit more resistance, which implies some control to your aim, while the speed pads are the opposite. If you have the money, I would give both a try and try out the relevant sense and grip adjustments to support them. So if you have more of a control pad, you might try optimizing for very controlled movements. More of a speed pad, try optimizing for speed. But now onto my more controversial take in this matter. Cloth pads are terrible. They wear out, they're inconsistent across the surface, they're hard to replace and get back the feeling of the last pad that you had, so you just end up chasing the feeling of the new pad over and over. They change with random factors like humidity. A humid pad will have much more resistance on a given day, especially if it's older, and it's so easy to be a point that subtracts from your aim. So why bother with that if there is an option many top aimers have sworn by and made work? And I would recommend anyone to give hard pads a try, namely glass pads like the Sky Pad. Or if you like a little bit more of a textured surface, there's ceramic coated glass pads, or aluminum mouse pads. Those have a little bit more resistance to them. But the important point is these feel extremely consistent, and they will feel consistent for the entire time that you use them. It's definitely an adjustment. There is less feedback from the pad, but it is completely consistent, and instead of the pad deciding how much control to give you, you decide that with your mechanics. Some people that play games where precision is rated above anything in mechanics, such as Valorant, will say it's impossible to aim well with these pads, and it's only for fast-paced shooters. But I just don't believe that's the case. I've done many different types of aiming and played many different types of games, and I've never felt that I was lacking because I didn't have a soft control pad. If you don't want to break the mold too much, feel free to use a cloth pad. It's not like it's gonna ruin your aim. If you keep your pad maintained or replaced, it's not going to hold you back. But if any of my complaints have ever resonated with you when you're buying these pads, consider the glass pads. Okay, now let's go over the PC real quick before we get into the FPS topics. You definitely want to shoot for 144 Hz if you can, and however you can achieve this with settings in game, that's definitely your goal. Stable 144 Hz. If you have to go down to maintain stability, I would argue that's better, but you can test the feel of each. So I built my last PC years ago for around $800, and it was an RX 580 GPU and a Ryzen 5 2600, so really reputed to be terrible budget parts, but they had a high performance per dollar, which is what made the setup actually work. So it obviously wasn't the best in performance, but the performance per dollar here meant I could hit that 144 Hz goal, even 240 Hz if I dropped the quality a little bit. And if you're looking to build a more up-to-date build, consider secondhand if you're on a budget. Look in your local markets and search up parts that have high performance per dollar. Look out for sales. If money's not an issue, my current build, which I can highly recommend, pulls insane record-breaking FPS in all games. I think I got 1500 FPS in Valorant on normal settings. It's the Ryzen 7 5800 X3D and the Ryzen Red Devil RX 6700 XT. These parts let you get away with a cheaper RAM, a cheaper board, a cheaper power supply, as well as cheaper cooling, as it opens you up to air cooling. And this rig can max out, 1500 in Valorant, like I said, but 750 minimums on ultra settings. There's no reason to throw away money into builds that get better than this, except to flex. A quick aside, I might sound like an AMD shill here, as all the parts I recommended were AMD, and I actually am. I work as a silicon design engineer at AMD, and I can say this CPU is really something special in the market that might be unmatched for quite a few years, and how much of a performance jump it can provide. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go to the monitor. I would stick to 1080 or 1440p options with a really dense pixel count, as you can find in smaller monitors. So if the monitor is smaller, like 24.5 to 27 inches seems to be the sweet spot with that pixel count, then those are good monitors. 144 hertz is a great option, and I feel that you won't really notice anything lacking in your aim. And there are some really high quality 144 hertz monitors that are used by pros. You can find reviews on them. At 240 hertz, you should only consider this if you can get at least that much FPS in the game that you regularly play. I'd honestly say shoot for double that FPS. So if you aren't pulling 400 plus FPS in your game, there's no reason to be going to the 240 hertz. If you're having a little bit extra money and you want to be future proof, you can get the 240 if you can pull 240 all the time. So that's my note on that. In the 240 hertz categories, there's a lot of monitors that will fall flat on other considerations besides FPS, like image quality, blurring, and latency. So if you do opt for a 240 hertz or even a 144, really do your research on the monitor choice. If research isn't your thing, there's channels like Optimum Tech that have some great recommendations. Anything he has recommended, I've seen all of the videos, they're all high quality options, so any of those, you can go ahead and pick them up thereby. Now everyone, after this video, you have to check your settings if you feel like your monitor's lackluster. So you bought a 240 hertz monitor and you're like, I cannot tell the difference between my 60 hertz monitor that I upgraded. So you want to update all of your drivers and Google how to check your frame rate in Windows as well as the game that you play. And then check for low latency settings for your game. And I've helped quite a few people set up their monitors. I've done tech repair at various points and helped people build their computers, and hopped in Discord calls with streamers to help them get the performance they desired. And it's just astounding how many people are letting a few settings ruin their gaming experience. As in, recently I found someone with an asset PC that cost multiple thousands of dollars, 240 hertz monitor, and he had his monitor set to 60 hertz in his Windows. It sounds unreal, but if that's you, no shame there. Not everybody's a tech wizard, but go find a video, just double check what your settings are at if you think that you don't really get performance that you would think you would see from how everybody else talks about it. Well, with that, we'll wrap up this video. The next video will be more directly related to AIM. If you're interested in hearing more, you know what to do. Drop a like and a sub, and I'll see you in the next video.